So, I'm very happy to welcome you to the Chagdud Gonpa Foundation's Odsal Ling Center. And I'm happy to give you a little bit of an orientation to Buddhist thinking and Buddhist practice. The idea, of course, is that it isn't just something to consider, although we do need to listen to the teachings and understand what's going on, but also that there's a value in implementing the teachings in your own life. Otherwise, you have other things that you could be doing today. You could be doing lots of things. And so giving the time and priority to be here and to listen to the teachings is not just for it to go in one ear and out the other ear, but for it to land in your heart and abide there. And in that way, our world begins to open up in a different way. By listening to the teachings, we understand what was the perspective of the Buddha, what was the perspective of the great masters, how are they looking at things, what was different about how they were looking at things, why that would make a difference for us and how we look about things. And then there is understanding that kind of shift in perspective is what we call view. And it's very extraordinary view, Buddhist understanding of view. It goes beyond perspective because perspective, if you think about it in an artistic term, there's one point and then you have another point and you build a perspective in the drawing. Or in your life, you have one point and you have all the other points that you build a perspective about all those points in your life. You build a perspective from your own mind, from your own starting position. You have a perspective. You have kind of a gradation of how you see the world. And the Buddhists have a different kind of perspective. And that perspective is very astonishing and valuable. It is not easy to really understand how Buddhists are thinking about things. Not that it isn't clear in the teachings. It's that when we listen with a lot of discrimination. We have already precomposed ideas that are in place in our own mind that we hold to very dearly as superior. Superior delineations like up and down, is and isn't. Big ones. Is and isn't is a very, very big one. And we have these preconcepts that limit our capacity then to actually understand another point of view, another perspective, another understanding of life. But then once we have had this introduction, it isn't valuable to you as just a philosophical fascination. Oh my goodness, how they think about things. I mean, that's nice that you could understand and broaden your own mind by how someone else thinks about something. But it isn't really the point of the Buddhist teachings. The point of the Buddhist teachings is to give you a shift in perspective. That you could look at the life really differently. Not that you could consider the idea of looking at life differently, but that you would actually implement looking at the life differently. And what that gives you, that's what we call meditation. Meditation is the implementation of the view, the exercise of the view, the application of the view, rather than your helpless habitual application of the perspective you've been born with. The one that comes from two eyes on the front of your head and two arms and front and back. You have a restricted, limited perspective because of your pre-existing condition. And most of us don't even, like, that's a little bit insulting, lady, my pre-existing condition. Excuse me. But honestly, we have pre-existing conditions. You know that. You know that from just your everyday life, that people have pre-existing conditions, pre-existing opinions, pre-existing experiences. They have the past that they have come to these conclusions, and they have the future which they're implying these conclusions towards. So we're all sort of handicapped. I know it's not a good word to use these days. It's one of those words Marcelo would say, don't say that. But we're handicapped. We're handicapped with our perspective. And that's not something we really understand because we're living it, we're using it, we're helplessly trapped in our pre-existing conditions that diminish our capacity to understand life, the world, ourselves. For example, we have a perspective that we are more important than other people. Even if you disagree with that sort of politically, and you think, we're all equally important, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen in traffic. It doesn't happen at home. It doesn't happen in schools. It doesn't happen in the restaurant. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen inside of us that every being is equally important as you are. It doesn't happen with the animals. It doesn't happen even with our lovers and friends. They're only important to us as long as they are my lover and my friend. As soon as they break the rules and they're no longer my lover and my friend, they go right into the enemy range. But the Buddha said every being is valuable, equally valuable. But we aren't able to do that. We don't do that, even if we think politically to do that. We aren't able to do that. We have pre-existing conditions that make us like and dislike others according to our own needs. It just doesn't work. Imagine the world with everyone treating everyone equally. It's hard to imagine. If somebody were as equally important as you, why would you impose your opinions on them? Why would you negotiate? You need to do this for me, we say to our husband or our wife. You need to do this for me, we say to our children going to school. You need to do this for me. Why would we say that? Why would we fight and argue over what I think is right if we thought every being was equally valuable, even more valuable, because there's so many more of them than you? And yet, look at the last argument you had. Look at the lack of equanimity. Look at the demand that what you're imposing on someone else to be important to you. If you're going to be important to me, you have to be like this and you have to be like that. If you're not going to be like this and that, excuse me, I don't have time. I have places to go and people to meet who will be like I want them to be. I have options. Do you see? Our predisposition, it's already in place. We don't even question it. And that's a problem. Why is it a problem? It's a problem because we suffer. We suffer hope and fear. We suffer gain and loss. We suffer friends and enemies. I mean, look at that. What is a perspective of a friend and an enemy? It's just a person. It's just a person. He may be your friend or your enemy. He's not everybody's friend. He's not everybody's enemy. He may be friendly and helpful for you, or he may be dangerous for you, but that's yours. That's your perspective of them. It's subjective. That's the problem, is that everything we've got is subjective. And not only is it a problem that we've got a subjective perspective, it's that we project it. Now, when you talk about that guy, just a guy who loves his children, just a guy who's trying to do his life, like well or not well, we slander them. We don't like their mother. We project our subjective opinion, and then our world becomes full of enemies. Our world becomes full of our projections that then we live with. And God didn't do that to you. Buddha didn't do that to you. Not even your sogra. She didn't do that to you. You did that to you because we don't understand subjective perspective. We don't understand how trapped we are. We're not really looking at the problem. We're looking at the outside and thinking that's the problem. And the Buddha is saying, well, you need to look back and understand better perspective. And so then once we understand these things and we become a little bit humble and we understand, oh my goodness, I don't have a handle on everything, honestly. I'm not right about everything. I'm not wrong about everything too. I'm just misguided about many things. Then we start to learn, and then we can meditate. Learning is great. You need to learn, but you need to meditate, because unless you start, it's like Rinpoche explained, if you have a piece of paper, it's naturally flat, like a big map. But if you roll that map up and you leave it in a forced condition with big rubber bands for like 25 years, and you go get the map, and you take the now completely dysfunctional rubber bands off, all icky and sticky, even though it's naturally flat, it won't go to a flat position because it has a habit pattern now. It's been held tight against its nature for a long time. And so its nature to be flat isn't available to it because of habit. That's what's happening with us as human beings. Our nature is not available to us because of habit. And we're not addressing it. We're not even interested in it. We don't even know about it. And so then what happens with view, you begin to understand with meditation, you actually begin to like roll the paper back. You put, rocks on the corners. My favorite is the iron hot. That's, my personality. You are forewarned. My personality. But you undo the habit. You're not making something new. The Buddha is not trying to remake you. The Buddha is trying to liberate you from a habit, from deep, powerful, countless lifelong habits that we don't even question until we experience terrible suffering, sickness and aging and death, and not getting what you want, and not being able to prevent what you don't want, and rebirth, like the birth, rebirth, and everything in between, habit. And it just goes on and on and on and on and on. And the Buddha is saying, look, you've got to deal with this, because you're not going to get out of it by painting your house a new color. Superficiality isn't going to work, because the problem runs deep. So then what happens is that your life becomes your path. Your life becomes the implementation of an adjusted, free point of view. And your life becomes activity. This is not about hiding out or running away or giving up or selling the farm. This is not about, leaving the world and shaving your head, although there are people who can do it that way. It isn't the only way that this is done. But talk with me if you like that kind of haircut. This is about living your life as a wise being. Having all the tools of view and meditation, and the freedom to be who you are in a world that isn't confined by your preconceptions. We call that action. That there is the enactment, action of wisdom. And there is action of ignorance. There is lack of view, ignorance. There's lack of healing, which is just habit pattern. And there's lack of result, which the world just remains the same old thing ever, that for whatever time you've got it, it's impermanent and composite and vulnerable, and you're sort of on the losing end there. So all of this comes from the Buddha's compassion, because it doesn't have to be like this. It doesn't, and you might think, what, like this, what does she mean? It's not so bad. It's not so bad now. It gets bad. We all have fortune we live with that's ripening. You have the fortunes of your human life, but once you die, that's not a given any longer. You don't have a human body any longer. Your human body affords you lots of freedom and lots of opportunity. Not that it's perfect, but it's not a bad story, a human story, although it can be. It's sort of adequate. It's adequate until it isn't. I had a friend who, how are you? Adequate. What did you do today? What was work? Adequate. It's adequate, but it's not free. It's not supreme. It's not awake. We're still sleeping in our preconceptions that ultimately don't last. And so therefore, it was the Buddha's compassion to help us find the solution to birth, sickness, aging, and death. To find the solution to not knowing the true point of view, not knowing how to actually change your own habit patterns, and not understanding how to really act, how to really be. Instead, we're just sort of helpless in how we be. I know that's improper English. And we don't even know enough to question. Sometimes some of us are kind of born with a question, like we always know something's missing. We always know something's not quite right. I think there's a difference between a spiritual impulse towards wisdom and realization versus an impulse to always fix everything and get the best for yourself. A lot of us are just wannabes. We just want to be more. Whatever that is, we don't know what that is, but it could be some special coffee that somebody's got that we need to get. We're just wannabes. And we want more. So there is a question to ask. Is it possible to end suffering for ourselves and others? Or is this all just, another effort at gazing at your own navel for your own personal happiness? The best coffee. So talking a little bit, opening up a little bit the idea of healing. Healing is a funny word. You either kind of like that idea or you don't like that idea, but it is something that we go through all the time with our own bodies. So it makes a good metaphor. You heal because health belongs to you. Sometimes you're out of alignment with your natural situation of your body. You're out of alignment, and so then you become unwell. Therefore, you can make some adjustments and some changes, and you can get better, not because you are making such a difference, but that you are aligning to your capacity to be well, your own capacity to be well. Healing doesn't really happen due to others. It happens due to your intrinsic ability to be well. Your body heals. Bones heal. It's amazing. We just put some structure. We just help it out. But the bones heal. Your own being has this great quality of wellness, of perfection. This is what the Buddhas tell us, is that you have Buddha nature. You are already endowed with that quality naturally. But because of conditions and habits and tendencies and issues, maybe for lifetimes of issues, you're in a state that isn't perfectly well. Humanity is not perfectly well. I'm so sorry, but we're just not. We're not in a perfect state of realization of our true nature of health and well-being. Neither are many other kinds of beings, like there are hell beings, there are hungry ghosts, there are animals, not in a perfect state of well-being. Even very fortunate beings like demigods and worldly gods are not in the state of their complete inherent perfection. And so what is happening to them as unenlightened beings is they are sort of migrating through different states of health and lack of health, of reduced health and worse health and better health, but not perfect health. Perfect health is enlightenment. That is the true nature of your capacity. So it isn't that when you're healing, you're not trying to get something different or something external to you. You're trying to uncover or release these conditions that make you unwell. so that what is intrinsically perfect can become obvious. It's a little bit like I don't know, I was looking on the internet and there was a big opal, and it came out of the ground, a big rock. But it was embedded in all this rock. It was a beautiful opal, but it's got all this encrusted on it. It's a beautiful opal. Its essence is this unbelievably beautiful, radiant light, but it's encrusted in all this ordinary rock. You have to remove the ordinary rock. You expose that jewel that is there. In the same sense, that's what we do on a spiritual path, is you remove what is destructive and harmful and preventing the radiance of your true nature from showing. That's all you can do. You're not making an opal. You're liberating it from this incrustation that is preventing the radiance of that to be known. That is what we do as followers of the Buddha. You're not fixing the world. The world is perfectly well. What you think is not okay about the world has to do with the incrustation. What we, and each of us as human beings, animal beings, demigods, worldly gods, all these kinds of beings that are in different states of wellness and lack of wellness, are still not clearly awake to what and who they really are, which is Buddha, is enlightenment. And so it doesn't work to just pretend, oh, great, I'm Buddha, wonderful, let's go for it, that's fine. I can do this. This is a nice system. This suits my temperament. No, you have to remove the crust. And it's a hard work. It's a job. Removing the obscuring factors that are preventing you from realizing your Buddha nature. That's meditating. And there are all kinds of methods for removing these reducing and limiting factors that prevent you from being who you are more than you know. Like I can think, oh, all I need to do is get rid of my husband and I'm going to be who I am. I'm going to be great. I'm going to be fine. I'm going to lose some kilos. I'm going to get a little bit of an adjustment and, color my hair, and I'm going to be great. It's not going to work because you're not actually attending to the real problem. And it's tricky for us because there's so much that we could be misunderstanding about how to improve life, how to improve ourselves, how to improve the world, how to improve everything, make everything better, 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 fix, 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 and then we drop dead. And it didn't work. Maybe it worked a little bit, but it wasn't efficient. So what we need is efficient methods for removing the obscuring factors. We need efficient methods for enhancing the tools to remove the obscuring factors. In other words, we need good technique for removing these. Because why? Because we don't have very long. You think, oh, it's Sunday, I'll go to the temple. And then it's Sunday again, I'll go to the temple. Oh, no, not this Sunday, I can't go to the temple. You always losing a week in between, a month, a year, your youth, even your strength, you're losing. You don't have forever to be able to accomplish what you can do in this human life to remove these obscuring factors like birth and sickness and aging and death. Not being able to understand what it is that really must be done and how to really do it. This is why we need the teachers and we need the teachings. But it isn't enough to just get the teacher and the teachings and not apply the method to your own mind, to your own body, your own speech, and your own mind. Nobody else can do that for you. And yet we are so busy. You know, I'm not a young woman anymore, but I'm not silly. And I have watched. I know from my own life, but I also know from the lives of others. We just postpone and procrastinate. We think later. We don't think at all sometimes. We just react. We just want more. We don't want less. We need to solve our problems. We have issues. Excuse me, lady. Yes, Sunday's good. I'm here. Good. It's Sunday. It's good. Yes, it's wonderful. You're here. It's Sunday. I'm so happy for you. But it's your life. It's not just your Sunday. It's your life that you have to accomplish moving from this encapsulation, incrustation, closer to your Buddha nature. And you need efficiency, and you need tools, and you need strength, and you need diligence, and you need character. Because just having tools isn't going to do it. You have to take the tool, you have to apply the tool, you have to make the difference. It's you who changes your mind. Nobody else can change your mind. Even you blame them for making you angry. You blame them for making you disappointed. It's all their fault. It isn't. It's your decisions with your life, with your breaths, what you do, your priorities. Your health or lack of health is dependent upon you. And part of that is really learning. And part of that is really applying the medicines. And part of that is understanding how to be able to cut through your own confusion. Because Buddha nature isn't somewhere else after the end of a long, arduous trip. Buddha nature is already present. That jewel is there. It's just hidden. And that isn't God's problem, that your jewel is hidden. That's your problem. And it's your life. We say adequate, but this life is really, really important for the ones who mean to realize the nature of the mind. Maybe not so important if you're going to be climbing Mount Everest. I mean, I pick that because it's, obscene. But to someone, it's very important they climb Mount Everest. But for those who realize what's really important is to realize the nature of the mind before death blows the winds another direction. While you have this particular opportunity, then you need to seize the moment and you need to make some decisions and you need to apply yourself because there is a task to be done and there is a timeline. And the time is slipping away. I mean, I say the same thing all the time. You can watch me and see time is slipping away. I tell people all the time, my son is the measure of my age. I know just how old I am by looking at those grandchildren. I don't know from the inside. All of us have an opportunity, but it doesn't just happen to you. It happens by you. That decision, that endurance and application of the methods to your own mind is what allows what is completely intrinsic and perfect to become obvious. That's how we help the world. We help the world by becoming obviously loving and compassionate and powerful and wise. We help the world by the change in our own perspective because it allows others to see, oh, a change could be made. It's not because you enforce a change on anyone else. We're not even seeing them properly. That change happens by changing our own mind. And this is why it's very interesting, because the Buddha was really pointing out our lack of health, but also pointing out our intrinsic nature, which is ultimately enlightenment. But because we're not understanding our Buddha nature, we have to go through this process of letting go of what is sick about us. We are sick. We are unwell. And what is making us unwell is selfishness. It's me. Me, my, mine. What I'm busy with is me, my, and mine. And that is our lack of health. And nobody believes that. They really think that I'm okay, and my kids, I need to deal with my kids. I need to deal with my job. I need to deal with my world. I need this. I, need. Don't want, need. And we're sick. We're unwell. And it's simple and it's present. Almost every word. We can't make a sentence without I in it. Because we have this perspective that I am the most important. What I want matters most. What I need is everything important in this minute, in this place. And you just gotta roll over, figure it out, do something else, because I. And the Buddha is saying, everybody is important. You're not the most important person in the world. And though you wouldn't really argue, as it's not very, really polite, you wouldn't really argue, still, you live, I want, I need, I don't want, I don't need, I don't like, I don't like, all the time. And so we not only are not removing this strata that our perfection is embedded in, we're building more. It gets worse. The more selfish we are, the more we validate hurting and harming others, the more selfish we are. Prami, excuse me. So the Buddha taught, some people will listen, and even fewer will really seize the moment and apply themselves to the healing of our poisons of mind and the revelation of the true nature of our mind. Not only for you, because you will benefit, but for whoever is connected to you. That they can see it's doable. They can see it's beable. That they can act in this beautiful, beautiful world in a way that benefits every being. So I apologize for going on so long. Even I get bored listening to it all being repeated. And I'm sure that's hard for you too. But like that, we face a lot of hardships and difficulties in a spiritual path. It's not easy. It's not that it's designed to be tough. It's that it's as difficult as our crust is. However durable your own confusion and delusion is how durable the task is. So it's sort of built in our own image. How confused you are is what we have to conquer. One person might not be as confused as you are, or another might be far more confused than you are. And so the path has to meet each person's needs according to them. And so for us, some people are sitting here on their cell phones listening to the Portuguese, and some people are, wandering in their mind, daydreaming about what they're going to do as soon as this is over. And some people are trying really hard to listen and understand, but it doesn't make sense. Everybody has their own challenge in that moment. And for others, it's a pleasure to listen to the English and then listen to the Portuguese, especially if you're trying to learn English. I could run a really good school for English. But the path is like that. You're going to face your own challenges, like how hard it is to get here. Some people, it's easy to get here. Other people, wow, what they have to do to even get here once. Like some old students, I see them every other year because they can't get here. That's what they're facing, is they can't get here. So we know that it's going to have its own challenges. You shouldn't expect it to be easy. If it were easy, there would be lots of enlightened people around. It's not really the case. And so the other thing is taking your opportunities when you can. Like, you have to be trained. For example, I'm planning to train for 3 Saturdays just how to do prostrations, just how to do bowing. It's a practice, bowing. Why? Because ego doesn't like bowing. Ego just really hates bowing. Ego wants to feel superior, wants to feel important, wants to feel like it's the most important person in the room. And bowing is opposite of that. You're not the most important person in the room. How uncomfortable is that? Many people can't even, deal with it. Well, they don't know what the practice is, so it's just weird. I understand very well how weird prostrations are. But they are also a tremendously powerful method for taming and training our ordinary mind. They are brilliant. Almost nothing is as efficient as bowing. And yet we don't know how to do it. We don't know who's bowing to what. We don't know why bowing. We don't know what difference it makes. So there is a lot to learn. but there's also the process, the actual implementation of the process. And there are many people here who have been taught, and they know how to do prostrations. They technically know what to do, but their mind is here and there. They're all over the place. They're wondering who's sitting in their spot. You know, did they turn the lights off in the car? They're absent. And so it isn't over just because you know which thing goes where and how to technically do the bow. Although there is the doing of the bow. And it's not easy to do. I promise you, no matter how many times you go to the, what do you call that place I don't like very much? Yes. No matter how many times you go to the gym, you didn't get the muscles that are used in bowing. You didn't get them. You didn't find them, and you don't have good ones. So it's always a problem. Something hurts, some this and that. But it's a tremendous method for benefiting us, helping us. And it not only helps us, it not only removes what's harming us, it actually builds what helps you. And so I will teach that. It has to be taught. If you're just doing, like a parrot, copying what you see other people do, then you're not actually able to truly utilize the practice perfectly well to your greatest advantage, to the benefit for you and whoever's connected to you. And so there's training. You need training. Come. Saturday morning, the next 3. From 9:30 to noon, come, practice, learn. Learn a meditation. Learn how the masters did this and apply it in your own life. It's not the only one. There are many, 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 many methods. It's just one. And it takes instructions, and it takes training, and it takes implementation. And you're welcome to come. But you have to make those decisions. You have to make those things happen in your life. And then once you have learned and you have accomplished it, then you have to become better and better and better at it. You need to be better and better every time that you bow. It needs to be more profound, the bowing. And many of you old timers, been here since dirt, your prostrations aren't better and better every time. You're not accomplishing greater wisdom and compassion inseparable every time. It's a path to enlightenment. But we don't use it that way because we don't know, or we know and we have become complacent. And so I invite you. I have been always inviting you. There has to make a movement from listening to understand the value of the teachings to implementing the practice. That's how you really change. That's how this is accomplished. Before you lose the ability to do a prostration, because I can't do them now. It's not possible anymore. You can lose the opportunity to be able to bow once in your life to perfection. How wonderful, how beautiful. How wonderful and beautiful if you could do that greater and greater and greater to the inseparability of your own mind with your perfection. All right. So that's all I'm going to teach today. I hope that it's been helpful for you, and especially that you think about how you turn it into proactive. You know, there's a big difference between playing soccer and watching soccer. This is meant to be an application to your mind. And so think about it. And please dedicate the merit of the teaching in order to bring benefit to all beings, that whoever they are could be free of suffering, that all of them could be placed in a state of ease and well-being, and ultimately that they could attain realization of their enlightened mind. Throughout my many lives and until this moment, whatever virtue I have accomplished, including the merit generated by this practice, and all that I will ever attain, this I offer for the welfare of sentient being. May sickness, war, famine, and suffering be decreased for every being, while their wisdom and compassion increase in this and every future life. May I clearly perceive all experiences to be as insubstantial as the dream fabric of the night, and instantly awaken to perceive the pure wisdom display in the arising of every phenomena. May I quickly attain enlightenment in order to work ceaselessly for the liberation of all sentient beings. Buddhas and Bodhisattvas altogether, whatever kind of motivation you have, whatever kind of beneficial action, whatever kind of wishing prayers, whatever kind of omniscience, whatever kind of life accomplishment, whatever kind of benevolent power, and whatever kind of immense wisdom you have, then similarly I, who come in the same way to benefit being, pray to attain these qualities. At this very moment for the peoples and the nations of the earth, may not even the names disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard. Rather may their moral conduct, merit, wealth, and prosperity increase, and may supreme good fortune and well-being always arise for them.